Welcome. We are back. We weren't gone for long, but we're back. And we're joined by Callum from Football CFB. How you doing, Callum?
I'm doing well, Kieran. It's great to be back with you. I'm a big fan of the show, as you know, so it's great to be back.
Oh, it's good. It's good. Callum was one of our first guests, and he's come back on. And since then, some of the list of people he's interviewed is up there. We're trying to reach your level, Callum. We'll get there one day. But some of the guests, and we're going to leave Callum to tell you about some of the guests in a minute. But yeah, they've been absolutely top notch. I think you've had Matt Letizia on there, Gordon Strachan on there. More recently, who's it he had more recently? Can't remember, but some of Chris Samba. Yeah. Tell everyone how you got into this, Callum. If they didn't see that
so
first.
Basically, to cut a long story short, I left school when I was 17 and I wanted to go into football media, but a lot of people around me at the time said if you don't have contacts within the industry, it's hard to break into. So I took the approach to 2020, set my own platform and try and grow it from there. And luckily, as I say, you're right, it's taken off, which is beyond my wildest dreams. But as I say, you just got to take it one day at a time and continue.
It's fantastic, mate. Good luck to you. Really good.
No, it's really good. And look, if there's anything that people can take from that, it's don't listen to what people say, and you just set your own path. And as long as you come with good manners, persistence, and hard work, you'll get where you need to be. And Callum is a testament of that. What's your favourite interview that you've done?
It's hard to pick a favourite. I think for me personally, I would say Henrik Larsson meant an awful lot to me because growing up, I watched him week in, week out, and I never thought in a million years I would get the chance to speak to him for even 5 minutes, never mind 75. So to get an extended piece of time with him was incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
fantastic.
Did I see that you spoke to John Hartson most recently?
Yeah, I've spoken to John. So John obviously has got quite a unique story, having been at Wimbledon and West Ham, Arsenal, of course, and he was so close to signing for Rangers. He was literally a medical away from being a Rangers player. The deal was all agreed. He came up to sign it. He failed the medical, so Rangers pulled the plug. And then a year later, Martin O'Neill signed him. They knew he had slight issues with his knee. That Martin O'Neill had said, look, how many games did you play last season? You played 35 games. That'll do for me. Come up here and show me what you can do. So he came to Celtic.
It's not like that anymore.
It scores over 100 goals. But you're right. It's probably unheard of now that clubs wouldn't take that chance. But Martin did. And for Celtic fans' sake, thank God he did, because John was a very key player for Celtic.
Yeah, he was. We're just joined by Marie. She's just got some transfer news to break. I think it's coming from Germany. How you doing, Marie?
Hello, Marie.
Callum, hi, Steve. Thanks for having me.
So
I have news that relate to the Bundesliga and the Premier League. Ozan Kabak is on his way to Liverpool, and he left Schalke's headquarters this morning, and he's now on his way to have his medical done. And it appears that Mustafi is being brought in to replace him on a loan deal until the end of the season. So good news for Arsenal, and probably good news for Liverpool, and yet to see if it's good news for Schalke.
Yeah, you happy with Mustafi, Marie?
Sorry?
You happy with Mustafi?
I haven't seen him play recently. I don't think he's played much for Arsenal, but he's experienced, and I think that experience might help in Schalke's situation battling relegation. So, yeah, who knows? It could be a good fit.
He's got his friend already there, isn't he?
I think it'll be a good signing for Schalke. Mustafi's not a bad defender. He's just not suited for Arsenal. Let's just put it that way. But he's not. Schalke are not getting a bad defender at all. One quickly go back to you, Callum. One player that is been spoken about a lot recently is a player called Josh Diogo. He plays for Hibs. Do you know too much about him and how good he could be or how good he is? A lot of comparisons they're saying to Kieran Tierney.
Yeah, well, he's a very young player. He's burst onto the scene this season. Hibs got a left back in Lewis Stevenson, who's played 500 games for the club. So the fact that Josh Deutsch has broke into the team and played so many games this season just shows you the quality that he's got. He's linked with clubs in the Premier League, as you rightly say. There's a lot of people up here in Scotland who think Celtic will sign him this summer because Celtic have got Diogo on loan from AC Milan. I don't think that deal's going to be made permanent. He's been out the picture at Celtic in recent weeks. They also signed Greg Taylor from another Scottish club, Kilmarnock, last season. It's a deal that's been hit and miss. It was a deal that didn't cost Celtic a lot of money. His performances on the park have been scrutinised heavily. So I think Doig is someone who will attract the attention of Celtic and Rangers up here. I would be surprised to see clubs in England interested in him. He's a very direct fullback. He likes to get forward. You mentioned Kieran Tierney. He does like to get forward like Kieran, but he can defend as well. So for such a young player at 18, 19 years of age, he's got a very, very big future ahead of him. And the only reservation I would have, Kieran, if I'm being honest, is I don't think he should make the move to the Premier League at this age because I don't think he would play week in, week out. And also with Celtic and Rangers, if those clubs can't offer him a starting position or the opportunity to fight for a starting position, then he should stay at Hibs because he needs to play games. He's a player who will be another talent that Scotland can produce. And for some reason, Kieran, we keep producing great left backs. I don't know why.
Yeah, do you know what? For years, it was like a barren spell for developing top players in Scotland, and all of a sudden they come all at once. It's somebody, and it is fullbacks as well. Because is it Aaron Hickey? He went to Bologna in the summer. Which was a massive shock to me because there was a lot of talk about him potentially going to Germany, but then he made the move to Italy. I'm not even sure how he's getting on there, but that's a big move and sort of another step in the right direction for the development of Scottish players.
Well, that's it. He's playing games there for Bologna in Serie A, and his progression again was interesting. He was released by Celtic as a kid, and then crucially before he goes to Bologna, Celtic try and buy him back. So that shows you how much they're ruining that missed opportunity with Hickey. Celtic famously released Andrew Robertson when he was a kid as well. So Celtic have missed out on two great Scottish left backs, but also produced their own in Kieran Tierney.
Yeah. Speaking of fullbacks, Marie, David Alaba, a player we've been following that transfer wherever he's meant to be going for about 6 to 8 months now. It's like it's out of two clubs, Real Madrid and Barcelona, and really, in my eyes, it's out of one club, which is Real Madrid. Is that where he's going to go, or is like his dad said, Barcelona is actually an option?
It's kind of a long saga, like you said. I think this is the longest saga. This is even a longer deal than what we were watching with Jadon Sancho last summer, being linked with Man United. With Alaba, he's always said publicly that he favors a transfer to the Primera División, and there, Barcelona and Real Madrid are the only clubs that would be a good fit, given that he's going to be leading the Champions League winners. Mm-hmm. But the thing with him is with his new agent, Pinit Zahavi, the Israeli agent who's really known as a hard negotiator, it's making it very hard to go to any club because he's wanting a lot, he's wanting a very big provision for making the deal. He fell out with Bayern's board, with Rummenigge and Hoeneß. And there's even some hope still at Bayern that Alaba might stay, but it seems that he's just asking way too much in wages. And Barcelona and Real Madrid are both under incredible financial pressure because of the pandemic. I mean, Barcelona has more than a billion in debt, so it's interesting. I don't know which clubs can afford his salaries right now, and I don't think that him staying at Bayern beyond the summer is entirely out of the question. Hansi Flick is definitely fighting still to keep him at the club, and I think a lot will depend on Alaba if he can, move away from the demands he's making. He's making demands that would put him in a league with Lewandowski and Manuel Neuer in terms of wages, and there's this understanding that that's a bit too much to ask for, given Lewandowski and Neuhaus standing in the club.
And if he goes, Marie, I suppose that will put the green light on for Bayern to bring in Upamecano. Yeah,
definitely. And that deal is moving along quite nicely. So Volker Struth, the agent with Sports Total that represents Upamecano, he spoke yesterday at length in a German transfer show about talking to Hasan Salihamidzic, Bayern sporting director. And he said, talks are good. They're like slow, but good. And he said that Upamecano is also linked very strongly to two major Premier League clubs. He wouldn't specify the one, but I think we know that it's United and Liverpool. So it's interesting. I mean, Upamecano is one of those very few players who kind of is in a good position right now with the pandemic and can really choose his next club. And he's got a release clause of about 45 million euros in the summer. So I think there's a good chance he's going to be leaving Leipzig for Bayern or the Premier League this summer.
And one player that's been touted about, I think Tottenham were linked with him, and Bayern Munich were linked with him, is Borussia Mönchengladbach's Florian Neuhaus.
Yeah.
How good is he? And what's the likelihood that he's going to end up at Bayern, probably, which is where they all end up?
He's a fantastic player. Yeah, and that's very true. Bayern is just buying the Bundesliga. Neuhaus is very likely to be going to the Euros in the summer for Germany as well. He's a classical box-to-box midfielder, can score goals from range, pretty much single-handedly beat Bayern in January when Gladbach beat Bayern 3-2. He was the key player in that. He's young. He's German. Bayern always loves buying German players, bringing in Goretzka, Nübel, always buying German talents. Borussia Dortmund is also interested in him. And with them, it's a matter of will they be able to afford him, the wages as well. So Neuhaus is rumored to be likely to cost about 42 million, again with a release clause as well. And I think it's a matter of if he can imagine himself playing in the Premier League. I think he would be a really good fit for Tottenham in terms of his playing style and his mentality. But again, I think it's more likely that he'll end up at Bayern.
Yeah, it's a shame. Callum, one player that Celtic were after, which it looks like the deal's off now, is Tanganga of Tottenham. With that deal being off, do you think that will be a massive impact in them in the season? Because trying to catch up with Rangers?
To be honest with you, Kieran, Celtic's season is finished. They won't win the title. The fans want a change of manager. The chief executive, Peter Lawwell, has announced that he's retiring at the end of the season. A new chief executive has already been named in Dominic Mackay. And to be honest with you, most Celtic fans would expect Dominic Mackay's first job as chief executive of Celtic to find a new manager, because the fans have lost faith with Neil Lennon. No Celtic manager can survive being more than 20 points behind Rangers, and that would be the same if it was happening on the other side, Glasgow at Rangers as well. So I think Tanganga would have been a good signing for Celtic. Even if that deal was resurrected, though, and he was in, the deal's too late, Kieran. Celtic needed a centre-back at the start of this month if they were going to sign one. They've been playing with Shane Duffy, who played well for Brighton in the Premier League, a team that defended quite deep under Chris Hughton. He's come up to Celtic and it's not worked for him. He's been caught for pace time and time again. He's made mistake after mistake, and it's not worked for him or Celtic. So a centre-half should have been priority. They've signed John Joe Kenny on loan from Everton today, which is a good signing, but it's a loan signing for 6 months, and it's a 6 months for Celtic that really is about salvaging personal pride. So I would be worried if I was a Celtic fan and there's no option to buy in that deal, because Celtic need to rebuild and look to next season, because, as I say, in my opinion, this is done for Celtic this year. They've got the Scottish Cup as something they could win, but given that Neil Lennon's still in post, I don't think any Celtic fan would back them to win the Scottish Cup, because they've only won 8 out of the last 24 games, which is disgraceful form for the club of Celtic's budget.
Yeah. So with Lil Lennon potentially going at the end of the season, I thought it was an odd one getting him back anyway, but it's probably more of a convenience thing. Who do you think would be a likely candidate for that job? Do you think they'd go for someone a bit younger, a bit like what they've done at Rangers?
I think they need a young progressive manager. If you ask me who Celtic should go for, the answer is Eddie Howe. I think if you look at Brendan Rodgers, when he came in at Celtic, he had left Liverpool. He had a point to prove to get back to a top 6, top 8, top 10 Premier League club, and that's what Eddie Howe's got. So if you get Eddie Howe, you bring him up to Scotland for 2 or 3 years, he performs well. Why couldn't he go down like Rodgers did and get a Leicester or a team in the top 10 of the Premier League and rebuild his reputation? What I would say, Kieran, is this week Mark Hughes is declared that if there was an opportunity at Celtic, he would like it. So he's spoken to a Celtic podcast called The Celtic State of Mind, and he's pretty open to becoming Celtic manager. So you've mentioned a young guy. That's what I would prefer. But with someone like Mark Hughes publicly declaring their interest, it might just sway the vote.
Yeah, and the thing is, that seems like a safer pair of hands as well in terms of if they've seen what Mark Hughes has done compared to what Eddie Howe has done. What you may get with Eddie Howe with regards to the style of play and more sort of modern day football, it's more of a risk. And do they want to risk on the back of how this season's gone, or do they want something that's a bit more steady? It's a tough question. But it's definitely interesting to know what they're thinking.
Well, just on Celtic as well, we're talking about the Bundesliga. Jeremy Frimpong has left Celtic for Bayer Leverkusen in the last weekend, and he's a player who, in his first season at the club, which was last year, he was absolutely fantastic. He arrived from Manchester City for around £1 million. City got a 30% sell-on clause, so they've obviously made more money in that deal. But he was exceptional last season. He was direct. He troubled every single defender in Scotland with his pace in the final third. This year, he's suffered the way every Celtic player suffered, Kieran. He's played as if he's lacking confidence. His game hasn't had the same intensity. And crucially, Neil Lennon admitted that he told Celtic he wanted to leave because he has ambitions to be a Champions League player. And ultimately, as much as it saddens me at the moment, from a Scottish perspective, he's more likely to be a Champions League player at Bayer Leverkusen than he is at Celtic because, as I say, the club are in big trouble.
Yeah, Marie, as Callum was just saying about our transfer, is that something they're excited about in Bayern?
Definitely in Leverkusen, yeah. I mean, he's a big talent and perfect fit for Leverkusen. Leverkusen likes to bring them in young, and that's worked so well for so many players. Like Moussa Diaby is now a French international.
Yes.
I mean, there are so many talented players. Leon Bailey is fantastic, although he stagnated a little bit, but a fantastic talent, and he'll fit in really well there. Also, Peter Bosch, the coach, he was at Ajax before he was at Dortmund. He plays attacking football. So I think this is really exciting for the Bundesliga and also for the player. And Callum mentioned John Joe Kenny. I think that's John Joe Kenny was really good in the Bundesliga for Schalke, and Schalke would have loved to keep him beyond last summer. And he's a very good lad, good mentality, can adapt easily to a new environment. I think it's quite something to move from Liverpool to Germany at such a young age. And he's a very modern fullback, likes to attack, likes to play crosses, can score. And I think this will be a good opportunity for him because he hasn't really gotten many opportunities under Ancelotti at Everton. And maybe he'll help Celtic get out of their struggles and also benefit from that time.
How do you think, Marie, the way West McKinney has done? He's gone to Juventus, and he was at the Bundesliga last year, and he's hit the ground running, and he's just getting plaudits left, right, and centre there. I mean, has he got better than what he was, or is he just the same?
I think he was always this good, but he struggled a lot at Schalke because coaches played him out of position a lot. He was like a man, like a Swiss knife, he was put in defense, he was put in attack when he was at Schalke, and he's just a great kid. You know, he's very talented. He has that American mentality of, you know, like hard work. Yeah, he's a very modern player, and he's doing so well under Pirlo. I mean, I expected him to be very good, but I didn't expect that it would be so fast. And that he would establish himself like in that kind of squad, because it's it's a much higher quality squad than what he was in before in the Bundesliga. And no,
I was just to say that he's Mr. Utility Man, isn't he? I mean, I don't know if he minds that, but he seems to be a player who can play anywhere. I was quite surprised last weekend he was actually playing like as a number 10 behind the two front players at Juventus, and I was, you know, I had to look at did I have the paper around the right way? You know, was he is he up front right there? But yeah, I mean, yeah, I think he's going to be something special, real special.
I think yeah, like you said, he's got that mentality where he never gives up, and he will just do a job for whoever he's playing for. And I think when you're around the better players as well, you've got a coach like Pirlo, it's only going to do him good, which is probably why he's moved forward, because he's just got a bit more to his game than just sitting in deep. Before we all go, I'd like to ask you both, who are some of the best talents you're looking forward to seeing coming through? I'll start with you, Callum. Who are you looking forward to seeing through in Scotland? Just give me a couple.
Well, you've come to me at the perfect time, Kieran, because one of the big talents in Scotland is a striker called Kevin Nisbet. He's playing for Hibs at the moment. He's only been at the club 6 months, and in the last couple of hours, he's handed in a transfer request because Birmingham City have made an offer of £3 million for him, and the player has made clear to Hibs that he wants to go. Now, he's played in the Scottish League Cup semi-final a few weeks ago. They were expected to win that match against St Johnstone. They lost 3-0. Their manager, Jack Ross, the former Sunderland manager, has been under a wee bit of pressure since then, and now Nisbet's trying to force a move. So he's someone I would say is definitely one to watch. A lot of people think he could make Scotland's Euro squad this summer. Maybe that's why he wants to go to Birmingham and try and make an impact down south. In terms of other talents to watch, I think you have to keep an eye out. I know he's an established player, but Glenn Kamara of Rangers, if he moves on from Rangers this summer, he will join a top side either in England or in continental Europe. He came through the Arsenal system as a kid. He came up to Scotland and played with Dundee. He excelled so much that Rangers got him for a fee of only £50,000. He's been absolutely... Honestly,
that's someone's wages.
Exactly. And he's been
another masterclass by Arsenal.
So Glenn Kamara is on the list from the Rangers perspective. From a Celtic perspective, I think you have to look at Christopher Ayer. He will move on this summer. The Norwegian centre-back. Odson Edwards probably going to move on as well. In terms of left field options that you may not have heard an awful lot about, there's a player called Ali McCann who plays for a club called St Johnstone up here. He's a Northern Irish under-21 international. I'm not saying he's going to go and play Premier League football in the future. I wouldn't put that pressure on him. But he's a very talented player. He's been playing for St Johnstone's first team week in, week out for a number of years since he was a teenager. And he's one that I think could make a move to the Championship in the near future. And as you've seen with John McGinn in recent years, a move to the Championship might
John
just
McGinn.
help you progress.
Yeah, John McGinn he's one of them players who's just so understated, but if you could put him in any team, and he would fit in and do that job there perfectly.
Play for nothing, wouldn't he?
It's just because I think it's just unfashionable, but I think people are getting past that, like the names. And John McGinn's one that keeps on coming up and around like some of the bigger clubs' names. Not long ago I saw him linked to Man United, which wasn't surprising. So, and I think there was a forum that said Arsenal should go for him because he's got a bit of everything in that central midfield role.
Absolutely. A funny story for you. John McGinn's dad taught me in school, so I've known of John's progress since he was very young because his dad, the McGinn family, have had so many footballers in the family, and John was talked about from a young age at St Mirren. And one of the things that's actually incredible about his progression, he was very close to signing for Houston Dynamo in the MLS before he went to Hibs, but luckily for him, he went to Hibs, got his move to Villa, and as you say, Kieran, he's absolutely flying in the Premier League now.
Yeah, he is. Oh, thanks for that, Callum. We're going to be we're going to get Jerome to look at these some of these players and give his little rundown of what he thinks of these players. So this is why we're doing it. Marie, who should we all look out for coming out of Germany at the moment?
Yeah, 2 players for you guys, and one is English, at least for now, but the German national team is fighting very hard to poach him, and that's Jamal Musiala.
Stay away from him.
Munich.
Stay away from him. Stay away. He is a serious talent. I can't believe he's already playing the Bayern team.
Yeah, he's had like 15 appearances this season, which is insane if you look at Bayern's squad. And before Christmas against Leverkusen, when they were trying to turn that match around, Flick actually took off Sané and brought on Musiala, and then afterwards said that he thought the chance of winning with Musiala would be better than having Sané stay on the pitch. And Musiala ended up being involved in the goal that turned things around for Bayern. And he's a beautiful player. You know, he can do anything on the ball. A spectacular player. And Joachim Löw, the German national team coach, is now publicly flirting with him. They came to Munich to talk to him. Like.
England
really good.
Yeah, he's a very good player, and I maybe he'll play for. I think it's just a race, you know, who can nominate him quicker in March for the next international matches, if it's going to be England or Germany. He's already played for the England under-21s, but he's in Germany, so it's like a bit of a tug of war. And then another player that's really good is Florian Wirtz with Leverkusen. He's 17 years old.
From Cologne, isn't it?
He's a starter. Yeah, I mean, I think he came through the Cologne Academy. Now he's at Leverkusen, and people who know him closely from Leverkusen are saying he's better at that age than Kai Havertz was. So he's a massive talent, and might even make the Euros this summer. And imagine doing that at like 17 or 18. Wow. So he's another big attacking midfielder talent.
All right.
Fantastic.
Wow. I don't know how I've managed to do an interview with Scotland and Germany, and it worked. Better than Bertie Vogts.
I think it went really well, Callum. Yeah,
absolutely. I really enjoyed it.
You even done your own little German Scottish swap there. It was brilliant. Yeah. Oh, I don't know how we did it. Yeah. Amazing. Thank you very much.
A bit of Jojo Kenny, and it went to Scotland.
Oh, it was all connected. Magic. Callum, thank you very much for joining us. And Marie, thank you very much for joining us. It's a pleasure, and we'd love to have you on again.
Pleasure anytime.
As a pair, you know.
As a pair, definitely, as a pair.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Take care. Thank you very much. Take care.
Take care.
Right, take care. Thanks, Ed. Thanks, Marie.
All right. Thank you very much to Callum. Make sure you go and follow Callum and Marie. Their details will be on the Twitter page. Again, we're going to have to switch off and come straight back in because we have South American expert coming on now. All right. Yep, I really have to go. And we'll jump back in a second. Peace out. Really.